And we're live. Oh my gosh, that's just an action-packed day of geek out wonderfulness. So we have our book club now, and you'll see I am holding down the fort. They left the inmates are officially running the asylum. So Susan will be back tomorrow, and we will just embrace her with big open arms. We have missed her as she has just stepped away for a little bit for family trip. So today we are going to finish up Expert Secrets. I can't believe that we're actually at the point now where we finished .com secrets, we're finishing Expert Secrets, and then next we're diving into the dreaded traffic secrets, which I'm really looking forward because I have strong opinions in that area, and I'm really looking forward to rereading that with an open mind. Okay, so today we're going to finish up Expert Secrets. I'm just checking down on my phone to make sure that we are live and everything is looking good. All right. And then we have our geeks waiting in the wings for our amazing conversations, which, Dan Havey likes to say that the book clubs are actually kind of turning more into mastermind. And that's what it feels like. It feels like it's a group of people who are embracing what a ClickFunnels strategy can do for their business, but trying to make it so that it's their own. Because at the end of the day, these are all wonderful ideas, but if we can't make it our own and something that we can execute on that works for us and how we want to serve, then it doesn't really do a lot of good. So I think the name of the game is to understand it and then how do we make it our own. So that is what we're trying to do. And we're trying to do that by understanding it in every possible way that we can. Okay, so I see you guys. I am live. If you guys have any questions or comments as you read the Expert Secrets, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll be watching that. Okay, so let's dive in. So today we really are wrapping up with Secret 19. And this one was a fun one because, again, it's another one that I had kind of forgotten. So this is Secret 19. It's plugging expert secrets into your value ladder. So this whole book has really been dedicated towards a very beautiful invitation that Russell extends, and that is to be the guide. Now, this is probably my favorite book of his because it is the area of business growth and business development that I personally resonate with the most. I think becoming the guide and just the journey of entrepreneurship and how I think entrepreneurship births you more than you birth it. But it is a wonderful form of self-expression at the end of the day. And I think your version of expertise and your version of how you guide is your creative expression, and it's what shapes your company and the businesses that you build. So how cool is that, right? So this one is plugging expert secrets into your value ladder. So what he did is, all throughout this book, we have heard this same framework of you have your big invitation, you then go on and you talk about the external false beliefs and then the vehicle false beliefs and then the internal false beliefs. And I think I have that order wrong now that I'm saying it. But you talk about the three false beliefs, and then finally you extend an invitation. And the way that you extend an invitation is through very systematic ways, right? Now, the way that you present these elements, right? These 5 critical elements, you present them in different ways. So the very first thing that he talked about was something called the Epiphany Bridge story. So this is your backstory, how you hit a wall, what you did to try to overcome that wall, the solution you ultimately found and created and now the invitation that you're extending, right? So this is that Epiphany Bridge story. And we know that this Epiphany Bridge story is really important and we use it all throughout. But I think that the image that he has actually right here is super fascinating because what essentially that is you can see, let me see right here. There we go, right here. The Epiphany Bridge story is like right there, right? So what that is, oh no, I'm sorry. The like, how did you earn it? How did you earn it? And how do you bring in leads into your system that you can control. So that's all in that epiphany bridge early on. And it's usually associated with lead funnels, which again is interesting because to me, the epiphany bridge could play out anywhere. But as I read that and I looked at the visual, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. Your epiphany bridge is usually the first thing that people get acquainted with and familiar with for you in your world. And so really putting a heavy emphasis on the epiphany bridge script in your lead gen funnels is important. Totally makes sense. Okay, then the next one is on the value ladder are your unboxing funnels. So these would be in Russell's world, for instance, when you unbox one of the books as an example. And in here, he has the 5-minute perfect webinar as the good script to insert whenever you're doing an unboxing funnel. And again, the 5-minute perfect webinar, it's the exact same structure of the big invitation, the 3 false beliefs, and the offer, right? But it's just in a 5-minute perfect webinar, super condensed, right? And that is happening right there in your unboxing funnels. Then you go one more step up the ladder into the presentation funnels. And here's where he's saying that the traditional perfect webinar is. Now, again, that makes sense because in a presentation funnel, you're usually asking for somewhere in the neighborhood of a 1K to a 5K offer. And so you need more time with them in terms of increased value and increased time in order to get to that kind of conversion. So a traditional perfect webinar at that state in the journey makes total sense, right? And then eventually you would get into the phone funnel, and he doesn't actually have an association other than he thinks that the perfect webinar just on the phone is a similar type of experience. I think. So, and then of course, in your follow-up emails for all of it, you would use the perfect webinar, or he says the alternative to the perfect webinar is you could use Jeff Walker's product launch, which we learned about it in a couple earlier, right? So if you're wanting to do a product launch and the epiphany bridge goes really well in, this is the Jeff Walker model for a follow-up funnel, where again, it is the intro video where maybe it's like a free workshop or something that you're giving to people. And then each day up into the product launch for a series of 4 is you would go through and give the origin story, the new opportunity, the big invitation, right? Then you would do your internal, then your external, and then the stack and close. So you'll see this pattern again and again and again. And he just basically mapped this pattern onto the value ladder and where you would see these. At the end of the day, I think it is all about that you have these stories and that you're able to have a bank of stories associated with each of the false beliefs. I think one of the best advice that I ever got was from Catherine Jones, and that is to, we have an Excel doc where we're trying to capture the stories and we categorize those stories into what false belief does that story help us to be able to address. And as you're working with your people and as you're coming across it yourself in your own customer research, I would encourage you, sorry, I cannot stop yawning today. I would encourage you to, document those stories as well and categorize them into how does this story help me in terms of the false beliefs, right? So super important. And then also those stories can play out in your follow-up emails, in your videos, wherever you're at. So super, super important. Okay. And then finally, I think, and this is where today's book club and book club summary might be a little bit faster than normal because it's a pretty short chapter, because then we get into the conclusion. And I think in pure Russell fashion, I think his conclusion is talking about essentially the story of a few years back, not too long ago, actually, he closed down his inner circle so that he could be with his kids during his 2 oldest boys in high school. And he closed down his inner circle and, super sad about it. And Liz Benny, who's an OG, got up to the stage and was talking about essentially everything that he's talking about in this book, that it started with, this 12-year-old kid that came across in an ad, AKA Russell, and then she moved up into his, she saw the webinar and then she got ClickFunnels and then she, they didn't have 2CX at that time, but she, grew until she was able to get into Inner Circle. Then she was in Inner Circle and, now she's there, and just the growth of her business and the growth of her community and her network. was how she wanted to serve and how she wanted to be, right? And what she was able to accomplish in that time. And so she was just giving sincere gratitude back to Russell about everything that he talks about in this book and about her journey as, choosing him as her guide, right? And then, he follows up and finishes the book with just a really cool sentence. And I have to read it because yeah, it just because it was so good. Let's see. He says, if you haven't yet, you'll soon find out that the feeling you get as the expert or the guide in someone else's journey when someone you've helped has accomplished their goal and enjoyed success is 1,000 times better than the feeling you get from your own success. It becomes addictive, and soon all you want to do is help more people with your message. And then, in true Russell, true form, I've been so grateful that you've trusted me on this journey so far. Your message matters. And if you are learning and if what you are learning in this book helps you reach one more person with your God-given gifts, then it will have been a success. And I think that is, I 100% agree with him and that feeling. I think that, being a guide is really important. I will say one caveat though, and this is where I don't know if it's throwing stones or us versus them, but it's a belief that I hold strong. And that is, I believe what Russell is saying is true in that helping others is far more rewarding than the success that you personally feel. And the act of serving others is a form of self expression. So, this is not a selfless act, right? This is a full recognition of self and bringing that self to the table so that you can help others through your form of self expression. And I think understanding yourself and how the role you play as guide, how you want to be a guide, how you want to hold people accountable, how you want to show up, how you want to be presented. I think all of these are a form of self expression and are critical first steps in order for you to be a successful guide, in addition to the heart of service. But I think that understanding yourself and your form of self expression are first really important. And so that would be the only thing that I would just slightly add to the end here. But he does a wonderful job. And then he basically lays the foundation for the next book that we're going to read, which is Traffic Secrets, which again, super, super excited about. So that concludes the book. And then he has a bunch of endnotes and great resources and references, maybe for future book clubs. And then again, just his acknowledgments of all the people that helped him to be able to do the book. And then, of course, like a great marketer, the very end of the book is the upsell into the workbook, which he did make. And so if you got the box set, that is the workbook inside of that box set in the Secrets trilogy, which is just fantastic. And then, of course, he has the upsell into his Marketing Secrets podcast. So good, such a good marketer. And that then concludes the book. So we are officially finished with Expert Secrets. And just again, a deep thank you to Russell for creating such a meaningful piece of work that is really the applied act of entrepreneurship, which is hard to find from somebody who is an actual practitioner, not just a scholar doing the work, but also having, deep, deep thoughts about what it is that he has done and being able to craft that into a framework, which is just so cool. All right. So here is the game plan. We are not going to skip a beat, people. We are going to keep on going. So next Tuesday, I do not have it. I should have had it handy. It's down there. The next Tuesday, we are starting with Traffic Secrets. And I cannot wait. Again, I think traffic is the hardest part of the equation, just from a pure tactical standpoint. So I'm really looking forward to diving into Traffic Secrets and having really great debates and discussions with all of our fellow geeks, especially because I know we are really big on organic traffic, but we have a couple people in our geek community that have done paid. And so looking forward to just having those really good discussions and debates in our midst. But on that note, I am going to go ahead and end the live stream, and I'm going to head on over to the Geek Out group where we are going to have a wonderful conversation about expert secrets to wrap up this series, and then turn our attention to traffic secrets next week. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in and just being with us on the journey. We so appreciate the community and the conversations. If you guys do have any questions whatsoever inside of the Geek Out group, we are here to answer any questions you have about how to build in ClickFunnels, how to optimize, some ClickFunnels strategy, some surrounding tech around ClickFunnels, pretty much anything having to do with ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels linchpin, we are here and we are here to help. So looking forward to all of your questions and to supporting you inside of that community. Until next Tuesday, enjoy Traffic Secrets and we will see you then.